Yes, lads, welcome back to another version of the series about football on Trent and organising football. This time, we're going to look into how we got our players. How we managed for the last 5-6 years to continually play a seven-side game now, which is twice weekly, an 11-a-side game also within the week on a Sunday. So 3 games per week, which is, let's say, 15 players for 11s, 14 players for each Tuesday, Friday. So that's 28 players there. And then there's 15 on Sundays. So you have 43 players altogether playing in a week, let's say, which is quite a lot of players, and how we've managed to maintain that for about 5-6 years. And it's not no easy feat. It definitely wasn't easy at the start. As I mentioned in the last one, we started basically from nothing and basically invited anyone that could play football and grow it from there. So initially, when we look at right at the start, we started off with word of mouth, pure word of mouth, and people we knew and people that we played with before. So we initially only got players that don't play that often, that just wanted to kick about. And at that point, it was all about just having a kick about. My nephews, my brothers, my mates' friends, close friends, and you have lots of friends, close friends and stuff that don't even play football, but they just turned up just to play ball and obviously support whatever we were trying to do at the time. So that was initially, I'd say, for the first three or so months, just leveraging who we knew at that point, specifically family and friends. And then after that, it was just a continuation of word of mouth. And I pushed on to looking at people that I played with before and good players. So we've got, back then we had some really good players such as the Uzi, the Spooners that came along, and they brought some players with them. And then there was a Ibi, who I played with before. He came along, and there was loads of other people, and obviously you won't know all these names, but you bring these people and they start bringing people, and that's essentially what it grew into. And after about a year, we had a good game going. And the second biggest part of that, which I leveraged at the time, was I was a student at the local university. And I got back into contact with the society that I was involved with at the time, and they had a sports group, and asked on there a number of times, anybody want to play football, and push that way. And we managed to get quite a few players to come play with us through there. And initially, there was a few players that came and played with us, and at that point it was a kickabout. Really, it wasn't nothing serious, nothing, like nobody. We wanted a competitive game, but it wasn't like the end of the world if it wasn't too competitive. So we had different levels of people coming to play, and that's how we kind of built the foundation. Anyone was coming to play, and the student side was a really important one, and to this day it still is. And the word of mouth, local people that we knew, was the first most important one. So bringing those two together enabled it for the first year or two to continue it going. And then within the second or so year, we got some really good students. The likes of the Musa, the Bazes, the Amrits, and they got really involved in. Shout out to, it's funny when you think about how long ago this all happened, and you don't even know how these guys found out, probably from the group chats, continue pestering them, saying there's a game, come down, come play. And one of the lads, Musa, one of the students, he got really involved, and essentially he brought all of his group of friends across. And a massive shout out to him. And he obviously had access to a lot more of the students, and they've come and played, come and gone. And he was able to really help us build on that foundation, especially the competitive side of football. Initially, in that first year or two, it was relatively competitive. In the first year, I'd say not too competitive. Second year, yes, a bit more competitive, better players. But in that third year, when we got more involved with the students, and a few of the current lads started to bring in some of their more closer friends that were good at football, that's when we started to build it into something really competitive. So that student building really broadened our horizons. We had two really good semi-pro players join, and I can't from the top of my head remember where they came from, but it was just literally word of mouth through the students and the younger lot that really got them involved. And they got involved initially, played a bit of football, and then they saw some of their friends coming along, and then they started to enjoy it. And then obviously at the end of the day, my real kind of, like, I love football, but I don't want to go football just for a kickabout. I want a competitive game, like just kicking the ball around and stuff like that. Yeah, great fun, but I want a competitive game. I really like the competitiveness spirit of football, but not just like where a couple of guys are competitive. I want the whole team to be competitive versus another team that's competitive and try and win a game. Obviously, just like a league, but not in the league format, just like a kickabout, but with that competitive element. And that was a big thing for me. Like, that's the part of football that I love. And there's people that love, the normal kickabouts and stuff like that. So that's where we had that transition from second to third year, where we had those really good, like the semi-pro players join us, players that were really good at football, local lads join us, and we turned it into something really competitive. And that's all basically from word of mouth and the student access, which I pushed myself to kind of get involved with, because at the end of the day, we were playing at the university. So for the students to access it was really easy. So that was a massive key part of it. And then around that area, around the third and fourth year, we had that many players. We organised friendly 11-a-side games with ourselves, and they were great fun. And we had lots of older players come back and play. We had even the local, the other teams, the other games that used to go on, some of their players used to come and play, and we've always tried to branch out. So we've got so far. So the first year or so, purely, family, friends who we know. Second year, that massive focus on the students, bringing the students in, and we've had a lot of students come and go because obviously they finish university and they go back home. Right now we're at the period where we've had students for about 3 or 4 years, and they're all going to go, so we're going to have a massive loss of them. So that's something to think about. So second year, the students, and then the mix of students and the local lads in that third year really brought in the really competitive players. And we had a really good group growing, and that would probably be the peak period of Football on Trent, where we really had some amazing games. And you'll see some of those recordings on YouTube of some of our games, and at times it got really toxic, and at the end of the day we talk about that era, like what an era. The football list, you drop the list and that list would literally go within minutes. Like I'll drop my name in, and within a minute or two, 14 people would be on that list. And they were obviously the best times. Obviously, you go through peaks and troughs. Right now, it's nothing like that. And at the start, it was nothing like that. But at that time, there was just a crazy period of everyone wanting to play, and everybody wanted to get into a Football on Trent game, from the student side, from the local side. And, we kind of created almost a buzz. Whether there's a buzz now is a different story, but there was a crazy buzz about Football on Trent, because you had some of the I wouldn't say better, some of the best players in Stoke that play 7-a-side. Like, I genuinely think if we had our best 7-a-side team, we'd beat any 7-a-side team. So we had a real big buzz going, and then obviously players started to dip out. Some of the students left. We had some issues with some players, so they left, and left or banned, to say the least. So we had to kind of adapt, and at that point, the list wasn't going as fast. So we're coming to the third, fourth year now, and at that point, during that peak period, I tried to while it was all happening, I knew it was all going to come down, and you know, some of these players are coming to play. They're not going to play forever, and they're not always going to be regular. So the key ways that I managed to get players was I used this app called Find a Player app, I think it's called, or Player Finder, and we got about 5 or 6 solid players from there that played with us for a good while, and I think maybe 2 or so still play with us, currently play with us at that time. And that was just an app where you say you've got a game and people just message and come along, and some players have left the area so they no longer play, but we've got good relationships with them, and they, if they were around, they would always, you know, come and get a game in. So we got quite a few players from there. Not anymore though. So that app was really good at that time. I don't know what happened with that app. I don't think it's invested in anymore. There's better apps out there, I think, now, but I haven't used an app like that in a while. And then the transition, as you'll see with the social media side of things, really built on top of getting players out of complete nowhere. So there was someone who messaged on Reddit, I think, the Stoke on Trent Reddit, saying, I'm a lonely guy in Stoke and I want to, you know, kick some ball or do some activities. Anybody got any ideas? And somebody posted a link to the social media page, which social media is a very important aspect, and sent a link, and they messaged us on there. So essentially that one came from Reddit, so that was a bit of a crazy one. Didn't expect that one. I'm just trying to think of other crazy places we've had requests from. So we've had the app, and another one was one day we were desperate for players, and I was having a haircut with my barbers, and I said to my barber, do you play football? And he genuinely got so gassed. He was like, how do you know I play football? And I was like, I just need a player. And he was just so happy, so brought him along. And there was a random guy getting his haircut, and I asked him, and he came along. And crazy story there, he's from Kyrgyzstan, and he was just here doing some work. He ended up going back, but he played with us for ages, and we still got good relations with him. So it's crazy where you make these connections, and when you are desperate for players, you go and ask anyone. And so many people play football, you just don't know. You just got to go out and ask. So there's a few places there, and then the social media, building the social media actually helped us find a lot more players from unique, you know, scenario situations. People messaging us on Instagram. Some 7 pro players messaging on Instagram saying they want to play games. General players just want to play games. And then you had people messaging us on TikTok, and other places within social media. We also just recently had a website created, and somebody submitted a form looking to play. So branching out in all these kind of areas, and still to this day we struggled. But I'd say out of all these kind of scenarios where you can build your player base, another one is one of the lads created a WhatsApp group, Player Finder Stoke, and that was great at the start. There was a few issues with it, but there's a massive proportion of people there. And the others is there's other people that, you know, that organise football sessions, and we got players from them sessions as well. So, you know, there's loads of places you can get players. And just recently we joined the 11-a-side league, and we've got a massive batch of players there that we can ask. So there's plenty of places you can get players. It's for us now, it's always trying to look for that quality, that competitive nature, that spirit of football that we want. So it's not just easy just getting any sort of player. We want someone with quality. So the key is just trying different scenarios. That's how we were able to keep it going for 5 or 6 years, and hopefully keep it going for a lot longer. You know, don't be afraid to reach out to old contacts, which some people haven't spoken to for years, and they've come to play football. Don't feel afraid to reach out to any other type of connections on your social media, on your phone. Don't feel scared to reach out to different groups, to different other football groups. Another way that I didn't mention is I scouted some games. This is more of a recent phenomenon. Last year I scouted a game in Kiel, in the university, and I watched these players play, and there was one player that just absolutely was destroying everyone, and he plays with us now on the regular, and he bought some plays with him. So there's so many different avenues, as you can tell. You're not going to get 1,000 from one avenue, but the best one by far out of all of these has to be word of mouth and mutual friends. There is, I would say, about 70 to 80% of our players have come from word of mouth and people knowing their friends or people they know that they play football with. Okay, social media is great. Okay, using the app is great. Okay, using that, but you never know who these people are, and it's hard to integrate them into the football. But mutuals, when someone's already got a friend playing, they're always willing to come because they've got a friend, and then they make friends within that group and they come along more often than not. So we have a group from Tunstallers, we call them. There's about 4 or 5 of them that all come together. They all started off with one, and now there's about 3 or 4 of them, and maybe a little bit more that come along. And then you've got some more experienced players or older players, and they know a lot of people. And if a game's about to be cancelled, that person will bring those players randomly out of nowhere. And then you've got the students. The students know a lot of other students and a lot of other people that want to play. And over the years, we've built a good base, and we need to continue building that. It doesn't just stop at one student, because a student can just go. You just have to continue building that. So word of mouth by far, obviously friends, family, nephews, you can ask anyone that you know, and there's someone out there that plays football. But people that you know, people that you got a relationship with, or your people that play that have a relationship with, that they know people that play football, they're more likely to come and enjoy a game of football. So that is the key thing that I would take if you're trying to organize any type of session, game and whatnot. The apps are great, social media is great, it does help and it does amplify it more, but the reliance on those should be limited. You should rely on your connections, the connections that the people that play with you have, and build it from there, because that's where you get the most success. Talking to people, asking random people, that's where by far you get the most success. Talking to local community groups, watching, scouting, it honestly works so much. That in-person interaction works so well. So never underestimate that one, and do the other bits, because just because I said, social media, you might get some people from it, it amplifies your voice. Like, a lot more people will know about you, and a lot more people will want to get into a session, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know about Football on Trent. Oh yeah, okay, you post your scores, you post your stats, you share videos, you do challenges, and people might see that and be like, okay, I want to go and see what it's like and see if I enjoy it. So never stop striving when you're trying to organize something. So this video was a bit more informative compared to the last one. I know I started going on a tangent on the other one, and this one's a bit longer, but this is just really just looking at avenues of where you can look. There's apps, there's social media, there's word of mouth, there's plenty of ways you can get players. You are limited to your area, but some people are willing to travel. We have on a regular basis people traveling in from Birmingham. And I reckon some of them will always travel in. One of the guys finished uni like 10 years ago, and he travels in for 11-a-side games. And when you build those relationship, friends, communities, and they know they've got a solid game that they can turn up to, it's going to be a good session, they're always willing to turn up. It doesn't matter if there's a few different people that play there, they know it's going to be a good session. So when you are building something, have those defined objectives. What am I trying to build? Is it competitive? Is it a kickabout? What type of people do you want to join? And what kind of avenues can you look at trying to get these type of players? Everyone's different. Everybody wants a different setup. Everyone's got a different organization, but don't limit yourself in any way, because that can just make it more difficult for you. But anyway, I've talked a lot there. I hope you enjoyed that one, and I'll see you next time.